Boy, oh boy, was that Nintendo Direct amazing, and I truly could not have imagined myself enjoying a Kirby Direct as much as I did with Kirby Air Riders. And of course, Masahiro Sakurai, he is the reason I care about this game. He is the reason anyone cares about this game if you were not a fan of the initial Kirby Air Ride, or if you never got a chance to play it like myself. Now, I have never been a big fan of Kirby or the Kirby series, but I recognize there are so many people who truly adore this franchise, and this game is a testament to that series. It is love and joy and everything you could imagine being poured out into a new game. And all of that is spearheaded by Masahiro Sakurai. He is everything Nintendo is not. And there are so many frustrating things that Nintendo does, so many weird little things that their developers can do, that the business side of Nintendo can be frustrating. It's just all so weird. And I think Sakurai is the cure here because he provides such a relief, such a sense of awe in his games, and his games are so much different than Nintendo's first-party games. Smash Bros. Has always had those options, always had these things that we cannot find in other Nintendo games. Now, this game is going to be compared to Mario Kart World because of course it is. It's very different in many different ways, but it's going to be compared to Mario Kart because it's a racing game and it's coming out in the same year as Mario Kart World. And Mario Kart World is a great game in its own right. I truly do love Mario Kart World's initial gameplay. I love the core of it, but the problem lies within the lack of options that Nintendo provides, or lack of options that they do not provide in terms of the online experience. And a lot of people have really abandoned this game because of that. The open world was fine. It was okay. It just wasn't enough to keep most people interested in playing this game long term, like something like Mario Kart 8 and Mario Kart 8 Deluxe was able to keep us doing. Playing those courses over and over and over again online, raising that VR, that was what so many people love to do. But with all the intermissions and all of the hate that that game has gotten because Nintendo forced us to play the intermissions, it just wasn't as fun. It's just not as fun as it could have been, as it was at launch. And now here we are with Kirby Air Riders. This game, first of all, is releasing in November 20th. That is a video all on its own, but November 20th is the release date for this game. Now, this game is amazing. Okay, I have not played Kirby Air Ride, so maybe there are so many details here that I am not noticing. Maybe this is just a copy and paste of the initial game, but many people are not going to know this game. Many people are not going to know what the roots were or anything about this series. And so this just looks like a brand new title for them, and for all of these people who are going to try to get into this series, this is going to be the perfect example of what it looks like to introduce a new franchise to new people. This game is everything that Nintendo refuses to do in their own games. It's amazing in all the right ways, and of course, there are some bland aspects to this game. There are some aspects that are a little too underbaked in my opinion, and even though we don't know the biggest part, which is probably some sort of story mode, which was hinted at the very end, we still know that the core racing is going to be the main aspect of this game, and then the city trial is going to be completely different and provide kind of that side mode experience that a lot of Nintendo games have. They typically have like one core gameplay loop, and then they will add in a bunch of different mini games, but this is something different, right? This is different than Mario Kart, okay? Mario Kart does not give you any options whatsoever to play the game the way you want to play it. You get to go online and you get to play intermissions, and maybe you'll get a 3-lap track every once in a while, but that's it. That's all you get to do. Battle mode, sure, but that's it. You get to do those two things, and that is all. In this game, you can play however you want. Now, the biggest aspect of this here is, of course, the options. You get to play however you want. You get to play with how many players you want, CPUs, online. You can do city trial. You can do the regular racing mode. You can do it in any which way you desire, and that is the type of options that Mario Kart has been lacking for years. And you get to play online with people, however many people you want, with CPUs if you want or not. You can add items or not. You can change the rules or not. You can have it be the baseline Kirby Air Riders experience, or you can customize every single detail to be changed to the way you desire to play. Since Mario Kart's conception, you have not gotten to know what the true stats of your vehicle or character were. Now in Kirby Air Riders, you get to see everything. If you want to know exactly how this kart is going to handle, how is it going to work when you're flying, how is it going to work when you're on the ground, does it have good attack power, it shows you right on the menu. It shows you immediately all that you can do with your kart and character combinations. You have nothing left up to chance, nothing left up to confusion. It's all right there. This game takes such amazing influence from Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. You can see, like, even just random things, right? The impact frames all look like Smash Brothers, even down to the very models themselves. They look like Smash Brothers models put into 3D. And in Smash Bros, that was the whole thing, right? You could play the main Smash mode online, offline, with your friends, co-op, however you wanted to play. Then you could play World of Light. Then you could play any kind of mode with any kind of rule settings that you liked. And this game is very similar to that because it's providing you options. That is the difference between Nintendo and between Sakurai games, is options. With Kirby Air Riders here, you can play a million different side modes. You can play mini games. You can play the main racing mode, or you could never touch any of that and play this crazy story mode that I'm sure we're going to get at some point, because at the end they teased a CGI cutscene that looked just like Smash, and it was like some weird bad guy on this cart, and it's all black and he's in dark, and it's amazing. This game looks amazing, and Mario Kart never hypes up the gameplay like that, never hypes up the story like that. It never does anything like that. It's just different. It's just worse, in my opinion, than this game. And Smash Brothers, of course, influenced a lot of this. This is Sakurai's team here from Smash, and they are doing this the way they want to do it, and the way they want to do it is just better. So many of these characters were trophies in Smash Bros. Ultimate as well. You can see the influence from that game in this in so many ways, other than just the development style. You can see them putting in Waddle Dee, Bandana Waddle Dee, like that. That is such a requested character, a frequently requested character for Smash Brothers, and we can see him being one of the very first characters that they decide to show off here, and he's on the new poster for this game. One thing that I really love about Nintendo and a lot of Nintendo games is how much they seem like they listen to the fans. If you look at Zelda, they have listened to the fans and changed the formula accordingly. Breath of the Wild was a response to Skyward Sword. Skyward Sword did not sell well. People criticized it for being too linear. And Breath of the Wild sequel, Tears of the Kingdom, was a response to Breath of the Wild. They changed so many gameplay aspects and doubled down in a lot, sure, but they added dungeons, they added unique dungeons, they added sages, they added so many things from Zelda's past to make that game a better experience for people who did not enjoy Breath of the Wild as much. They decided to address weapon durability by using the fuse mechanic. They addressed so many different things, and they seem to always listen. Mario Odyssey was a perfect response to Mario 3D World, 3D Land, the new Soup series. All of those games were kind of bland, kind of stale, kind of generic Mario. And they decided to come back with a bang, with a huge sandbox open game in which Mario could run around and be what he was always meant to be. All of that Mario 64 influence was absolutely pumping through the veins of Super Mario Odyssey. Nintendo listens very well, in my opinion, but they don't listen like Sakurai. They don't listen like him, like his team, and it shows, because in these games, you can see the differences. You can see where Nintendo may or may not have decided to continue with whatever they wanted to continue with, but Sakurai listens to the fans and he responds accordingly. In Smash Bros. Ultimate, so many, if not most, of those DLC characters came after everyone requested them. They put out a poll and they asked it for some of the most requested characters to come to Smash Bros. What characters do you want to see in Smash? And many of them were third-party examples, and a lot of them ended up coming true. The biggest one was Banjo-Kazooie and King K. Rool and Ridley from Metroid. Like, there were so many other characters, and those characters included, of course, that were requested for years and years, and Sakurai decided to give the fans exactly what they wanted, and he did it properly, too. He didn't just do it because he was like, oh, they're begging us, I guess we'll have to incorporate some of these characters even though we don't want to. No, he went to the series' roots. He gave every single character the love and care they deserved, their moveset, their stages, their music. They just did everything that you could possibly want them to do for your character. Dragon Quest, Persona 5, Joker, like, just so many amazing characters were brought in. Cloud was one of them. Oh my gosh, I remember the response to Cloud back in the Wii U days. What an amazing character. Even before I think Nintendo started to really listen to us and started to get much, much better at identifying what it is their crowds want, Sakurai was doing it before. Because in Brawl, back on the Wii, he put in Sonic and Snake, like third-party characters before. that game was not even seen as a viable option. It was always seen as some sort of pie in the sky belief. And now, right after Brawl, any character is possible. Anyone is possible. And the presentation, the way they tell us these characters, the way they present the information to us, the way they hype it up, the way it should be, they just know. They know what we want. And they added Steve from Minecraft. Steve, what in the world? Like, how is that even a possibility? And yet it is, and yet Sakurai provides it. Sakurai is everything Nintendo is not. Can you imagine if in any of these other games Nintendo listened in the way that Sakurai listened? If in Mario Kart World, can you imagine if by now it's been a few months since that game released and since the bad update that ruined the online experience for most people, they could have easily put out a new mode in which you can play 3-lap tracks to your heart's desire and continue to get VR and continue to play in the way that they have always allowed us to play in the past, which is the original Mario Kart formula. They're forcing the intermissions on us, and that's just not a good look. It's not fun, and I can imagine that they developed it this way and they want it to be this way. They put so much effort into the intermissions, and they just decided, you know what? We're gonna make them play the way we want them to play, the way we developed it. They went out of their way to make the experience something we did not want because they're Nintendo and they choose how we play. In Kirby Air Riders, in Smash Brothers, in everything Sakurai has a hand in, I see that philosophy being thrown out the window. Sure, Nintendo is amazing at thinking about the player experience. The developers are constantly wondering how they can improve the experience for us, how they can make their games better for us. They do so much more than just think, oh, I'm going to do whatever I want here. They really care about us. And yet Sakurai cares even more. He thinks about more than the average Nintendo developer because he has more power than the average Nintendo developer. I was talking earlier about the possibility of a single player mode in which that cutscene was shown at the end of the trailer, of the end of this direct here, and here is my proof. In the middle of this direct, he was showing us different modes and ways you can play, and right here at the bottom right, you can see a noticeable lack of an option in this square, and no one has really talked about this. I am the first person I've really seen say anything about this, and yet I think that is similar to the World of Light mode. Back in the day in the Nintendo Directs that they showed off there, they decided to blur it out rather than just completely removing it, and people unblurred it and found out that it was Spirits so fast, and of course no one knew what Spirits was, so people were like, why would you even blur it to begin with? But they've learned their lesson. They're not just blurring stuff out. This is them completely and totally removing the actual mode because they don't want us to think about it. They didn't want us to see it. They didn't want spoilers. They learned and they adapted. And I'm not saying Nintendo doesn't do that. They do that better than any other company in the gaming industry, except for maybe Microsoft, but Microsoft listens a little too much, I think, sometimes. They do a little bit too much to make people happy because they can't sell any other consoles. But anyways, Nintendo, they really do that. The entire Nintendo Switch generation is proof of that, in my opinion. They have really changed their ways from the Wii U and the Wii. They decided to adapt. They decided if they were going to continue being a company that develops hardware and software, they would have to adapt to what people want. But I think even still, Sakurai takes it further. Nintendo does not do what Sakurai does. Everything Nintendo does wrong, Sakurai does right. He's thinking about us, and he's thinking about how we're going to react as well. That is another big part. Do you think Smash Bros. Ultimate would have been nearly as successful if it hadn't had such hype behind it? If it hadn't been such a big experience for people to watch and actually wait for this game to come out? The hype train leading up to it, the DLC hype after it, it kept it in the limelight. It kept people interested, and it kept things interesting. Nintendo doesn't do a good job at that with most of their first-party games, in my opinion. Sometimes they do a phenomenal job, like with Mario Odyssey, but think of Donkey Kong Bonanza, for example. In April 2nd, the Switch 2 Direct, that game was announced. It had a little trailer and didn't show us any reason to be excited other than it's just a 3D Donkey Kong game. They didn't tell us anything. Then a little bit later, they gave us a 15-minute direct that was jam-packed of information that got a lot of people excited and showed off a big reason as to why you should be hyped and why I should be hyped and why everyone should be hyped and why this game is amazing. and yet they still didn't tell us little things. They waited till the last second to kind of quietly tell us that this was developed by the Odyssey team, rather than using that as a hype method, rather than having those developers come to the limelight and show us this game in the same way that Sakurai did. Sakurai knows his power. He knows how amazing his style is and how many people love and respect him, how he is such a big figure in the industry. He uses that to his advantage. Do you really think Kirby Air Riders would be getting this much attention if not for Sakurai? I mean, from the very first trailer, at the very end of it, it said, Sakurai, what other game in any industry is being shown off in that way? What other game, before you even see gameplay, do you know who is behind it? Sure, maybe there's Kojima, maybe there are some other people like that, but Sakurai is one of the only ones, especially within the Nintendo sphere, that they will show off the developer before they show off the gameplay. This game had a 45-minute Nintendo Direct. Sakurai showed us every single thing about these two modes and about the basics of this game, and yet we still have not seen everything. They still are hiding that single player mode, that new experience, that CGI cutscene at the end that is going to be a big part of this game, similar to World of Light, except I think it's going to be a lot more fleshed out. This game is going to be bigger. And it's because of Sakurai that we are hyped about this, that we are wondering what's going on, that we're speculating. He knows how to use YouTubers like me, how to use the people that love his games to his advantage. And that is not a bad thing. I know some people might say that, oh, he's taking advantage of us. No, I mean, he is, but he isn't, because he cares about us and this is all for us. But he knows that if it's for us, that we're going to be excited and talk to other people about it and get other people excited. And it's going to create an echo chamber of people excited for this game and talking about this game in a similar way to Smash Brothers. And Smash Brothers has a ton of hype, and people have always wondered, in my opinion, why that is. Like, I've always thought, at least, why is it that Smash Bros always gets 10 times more hype than a Mario game or a Zelda game? It's always just been the most hype-filled series. And a big reason as to why is because Sakurai knows how to present things, how to keep us on our toes, how to excite us, and how to keep us coming back. This game is coming out in November, and we know it will be $70. We could see it here on the eShop. It's up for pre-order right now. It's $70, and it's going to have to show why it's worth that money to people. And I think Sakurai knows that, and he's going to give us another direct, in-depth looking at the single player mode for this game sooner to this game's release. Similar to Smash Brothers, we're going to get 2 directs for this game. In contrast to Mario Kart World, which had, what, a 10, 15, 20-minute direct that barely showed off anything new. It showed off a bunch of old stuff, and all the new stuff it could have shown off, they didn't show at all. It was very lackluster, and I think it was almost an afterthought. They were like, yeah, we'll do a Mario Kart Direct, and then they were like, what are we going to show? And they were like, I guess we can show the gameplay a little bit, and then that's it, bye. Like, they didn't do anything to show why that game was worth it. And there was plenty of things that they could have shown, but they didn't. This is why Sakurai is so much smarter, so much better than most of Nintendo, because he knows. He understands the impact of himself, of his games, of what he says, and how we receive. He understands all of that, and he thinks of the details, he thinks about us, and he is everything that Nintendo isn't. So that is why Sakurai is everything Nintendo isn't. Make sure you like and subscribe if you enjoyed today's video. Click that notification bell to know exactly when my videos release. And let me know down below in the comments section if you agree with me. Do you think Sakurai is different? Do you feel like you see what I see here, or am I just crazy? What is your thoughts on all of this and this game? Make sure you click on the left side of your screen to see my new video on Donkey Kong Bonanza's ending, and click on the right side of your screen to see my commentary on a lot of 2025 and what this direct could have meant for the rest of the year. Thank you so much for making it to the end. Make sure you have yourself a phenomenal day. This has been Ray's Nintendo Talk. I have been Ray, and I will see you all in the next video.